I'm in a co-working space, but I've booked out. Yeah, I'm in like a bit of a shed. We can book out these little meeting rooms.
Oh, nice. Oh my God, it is a shed. It is a shed.
Yeah, there's about 10 sheds all lined up inside a big giant warehouse. Yeah, it's like the creative quarter of Liverpool.
Oh,
It's called the Baltic
nice.
Triangle.
Jobsworth, Season 3, Episode 7, Lost for Words. Welcome to Episode 7 of Jobsworth, Season 3. This week I catch up with copywriter, agency owner and wordsmith extraordinaire, Dave Harland. Dave discovered he had a particular talent for English at a very young age, beating his dad at Scrabble at just 6 years old and retaining his unbeaten title to this very day. He is, in his own words, an anti-bullshit copywriter who writes impactful and memorable advertising and marketing copy for businesses and brands who want to stop boring people to tears. If you've read his work, you'll know he doesn't disappoint. We discuss how completing a degree in journalism led him to landing a job as head of copywriting at a Christmas hamper company before deciding to kick off his freelance career under the moniker The Word Man. We also talk about the role of authenticity and humour when it comes to marketing, the importance of finding a tone of voice if you want to create engaging copy, and I asked Dave for his thoughts on the devaluing of copy due to the increased adoption of AI. If that all sounds a bit heavy, the episode also includes copious amounts of toilet humour, a great anecdote about Dave having an accident on a school trip, and both of us being disapproving of the word passion whilst using it constantly. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the man who gets a kick out of using his wayward words to go to war with an army of scammers. If it doesn't make sense yet, it soon will. Dave Harland. When you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Really handily related to what I do now. So I wanted to be a journalist. Although I say when I was younger. I think when I was very young, I probably wanted to be a fireman. My uncle was a fireman. My uncle Charlie, and I always remember like sitting in his fire engine when we were kids. He came round to my nan's one Boxing Day. The whole family used to go to my nan's on Boxing Day, so he brought the fire engine. So I think I was like, oh. But around the same age, my dad got me into Scrabble, and I loved words. I loved reading, Roald Dahl books and writing all sorts of stories and poems and whatnot. So I was heavily into the words from an early age. And then, when you come to school, and I was good at English, and it naturally kind of pointed me towards doing something wordy for a career. And my careers advisor were like, go and do a work experience at the local paper. So that's what I did, did work experience, study, and went on to study journalism, and then kind of fell into copywriting, which is what I do now. So, It's kind of related to what I set out to do when I was a kid.
How old were you when you got introduced to Scrabble? Because I'm like my oldest son is 6, and he can read anything now. So you put something in front of him and he can read, and the lovely thing about how he reads, he's got this intonation with it too. So it's not that kind of like he's not always sounding things out phonetically. There's intonation. There's kind of like he's almost acting it now. But we're still a little way off Scrabble. But how old were you when your dad introduced you into Scrabble?
Same age, It was 1988. Really? I remember him getting me into it. Yeah, it's like it's part of my website, The Word Man. It's on my about page. The opening gambit is battering my dad at Scrabble since 1988. So that's me headline on my about page. So I vividly know that I was 6 because I remember speaking to my dad about it and asking him like, when did you actually? And he was like, oh yeah, I remember that year. Like it got you into it, and like he was letting me win for the first 6 months, but then that quickly changed, and I became the precocious little twat that was just beating him non-stop. And I've kind of never lost a game since. And the reading side, as my vocabulary group, the reading side of things, like you're talking about your little one being, like good at reading, an advanced reader. I was that kid that had they do what's your reading age in school. I had like a reading age of 26 when I was like 12 or something stupid. Just one of those annoying little kids, which was funny at the time. But it's same age, 6, Scrabble.
Yeah, if you find that you've got like an innate ability to tap into something and a talent, and whether that's, in your case, that was words, if you can get, I first couple of episodes I did of the podcast, I banned the word passion because I'm a little bit ill at ease with the word passion, especially when it comes to careers, because I don't think, first off, not everyone's fortunate enough to have a career that they are passionate about, or they can derive something that they are passionate about it. And I also don't think it's always a good idea to follow your passions and make them a career. It's fine for those to be two separate things. But it sounds like you had this innate ability with words, with writing, with reading. And did it develop into a passion? Would you say you are, I'm not going to ban you from saying it, Dave, so don't worry, but would you say you are passionate about writing?
It's all right. I'll self-ban myself. I can't stand the word either. Yeah, have you ever seen David Mitchell's soapbox on YouTube?
Yes.
Where he took that little clip where he talks about passion. Can you be passionate about not just tax optimization, but the optimization of tax? Yeah, hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a bit of a wanky word, passion, but doing something I love, I'll say love. Doing something I love as a job is it definitely, yeah, that's definitely a really amazing thing that I kind of kick myself sometimes. Like, a lot of my mates are out there getting suited up in boiler suits and working as welders and whatnot, and they're out there grafting. When I tell them like what I've been up to, they just laugh their head off. They're like, "You just write stories all day. Yeah, like how's that even a job? Like it's nuts, really, when you put it into perspective." So, yeah, I've always counted myself really lucky to be able to do day to day exactly what I love. That said, being asked to write 72 product descriptions for security fencing, perimeter fencing in 72 different colors and designs and whatnot. It can be a little bit of a like, oh shit, like am I cursed here? Like how the hell am I going to attack this? And there are some briefs where it's a bit of a pain, but yeah, it feels like I'm constantly kind of solving little problems and puzzles, just using words, I suppose, and finding the right word to fit. And I've ever since I did it as a career, it's like a shit cliche. Oh, no 2 days are the same. But I think as long as you're not just working for the same business, writing about the same product day in, day out, you really can make 2 days never the same. Because you're writing about new stuff, and like a lot of the stuff that I do isn't just purely focused on client work. I run an agency now, so it's how am I going to market the agency? It's like another phrase I hate, personal branding. It's how are you going to market yourself and talk about yourself on social media, which like it all, but we all kind of have to do these days if we're to either run our freelance businesses or try and become an authority in whatever industry. We've all got to be kind of good at that. So yeah, it's I suppose it's a passion that has allowed me to
come back round to it. We've come back round to the words that we didn't want to say.
Make a career of it, but I'd never say it. Like I'd never ever use the word passion. I'm like you.
I'm definitely against it for a number of reasons. I think as well, I'm always mindful that there are so many people out there that are doing jobs like you say that your mates are doing, where they're clearly not passionate about it, and that's okay, that's fine. But it sounds like that. It sounds like you find a talent, you find a skill, and then you can build into that. And what you're doing really, I was trying to think of how to articulate this before we started recording. Like, you are weaponizing words. They are your weapons, and you're putting them together in a way that is getting the results for your clients, and that's great. I would imagine though, we'll talk about the personal brands you've built, and I know you through LinkedIn, Dave, as I'm sure a lot of people listening to this might do too. I'm sure your personal brand that you've built though kind of filters out some of the clients that look at what you're doing, and I'm sure this is by design too. Surely you don't get certain clients approach you with the kind of style of what you put out there for that very reason. Maybe they think that comedy, humour, a bit of personality is not what they're looking for. We can make the argument why they should be, but maybe you're kind of filtering out people that go, Dave's not for us because of that. I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way.
Yeah, it's 100% a conscious decision. It wasn't always. I think I've leaned into more of the using humour within my copy probably the last 4 years since the pandemic, really. And I was stuck at home. Wasn't in my lovely co-working space where I feel like I've got all the time in the world to come up with ideas. I was hemmed in this little box room and the whole world was doom and gloom, and it was like, oh, like everyone was in nightmare scenario, weren't they? So I was just like leaning more into humour as a bit of a crutch to lighten the mood for me. Hopefully, try and bring in more fun jobs because I've been freelance for 8 years. Started an agency about 18 months ago. But in that time, during the freelancing anyway, for the first 4 years, I was pure generalist. I'd say I was, in terms of my approach, it was still 50% entertaining stuff that I put out in terms of marketing, but the other 50% was like useful stuff, so like tips and whatnot, which, the area that most people start in when they're starting to do personal branding on LinkedIn. They try and give as much of their knowledge away for free. So I was doing all of that. Yeah, as soon as the pandemic hit, and I thought, I need to, just for my own sanity, I need to lighten my own mood and start getting a bit sillier, just to make my days a bit more fun. I consciously lean more in, so it's like 90% humour now, probably closer to 100%. Still with a little bit of usefulness in the background.
Yeah.
But what I've found in doing that is that, I won't be getting Roderick from Innovative IT Solutions asking me to write a case study for him anymore. I'll be getting, Gemma from a really cool startup dog food brand to come and help me work out how she's gonna have more of a laugh with her tone of voice. So it's poles apart in terms of the types of clients it brings in, but I feel more natural in that, that humor comedy world, and being able to translate what's relatively kind of boring strategic copy into stuff that feels nice and grounded and relatable and fun. It feels like that's just the kind of natural home for where I work best. It's what I enjoy. So to be able to enjoy it and do good in the work that I do, I can't really knock it. So it's been wasn't originally conscious, and then I will always attest it to that. During the pandemic, leaning more into humour has kind of led me down this path where I'm a lot more focused on that kind of comedy and personality side of things.
It's authentic, isn't it? And I think people buy into that. It makes it easier for you to do it. I imagine as a creative too, you can tap into something that feels genuinely your style of communication. A lot of people, I work in recruitment. A lot of recruitment companies, recruitment agencies out there are a lot more corporate than I am. I still work in the same space, which is these big technology transformations, but I have fun with it for myself, because if I had to toe that very corporate line, I would go mad, and it doesn't feel authentic. And I can't sit there writing something without taking the piss out of myself or the kind of the perceived ideas around the industry. So a lot of people say to me, I really like your branding, but it's completely self-serving. It's selfish. It keeps me interested in it. And then you filter out people. I know there's companies that don't want to work with me because I take the piss, or I'm saying something that is kind of against the norm, but that filters out the people that kind of buy into that. And I know they're the ones that are going to work and enjoy working with me, rather than me trying to pretend to be something I'm not. So it sounds again like you kind of lean into that during the pandemic and then think, actually, I'm having more fun. I feel more engaged. And these are the type of people, this is the tribe of people that I'm happier working with.
Yeah, spot on. It is a natural filter. It just filters out those people who, you wouldn't really want to do any work with anyway, but B, like, are they really going to make the job fun? Like, if someone's taking themselves really seriously and it's a serious subject and you try and have a bit of a laugh, like, how's that going to go down? Whereas if you're having a laugh from the outset and they come to you, like, I very rarely have to persuade people anymore on the power of either, copy with personality or even using humour. Like, I do talks now at conferences and stuff where I talk through different techniques and stuff. By far, the question I get asked all the time is, can we still be taken seriously if we're, messing around all the time? And I'm like, there's a difference between being professional and being corporate. You still be professional, but in a really lighthearted way. Like, it doesn't have to be all super corporate and, innovative solutions. We're delighted to announce this and that.
We're delighted. That's the trigger for me. We're delighted. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. The minute you see it, you're like, no one's thrilled. No one gets thrilled about putting a post on LinkedIn. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a really good point, though. You can have fun with it and still toe that professional line. It doesn't mean straight away that people are going to start pointing fingers and saying that you're not taking it seriously. So
No, and they say like, oh, but we're B2B, and I'm like, I'm B2B. Like, I'm working with other businesses, whether it's a B2C product, I'm still working with that business. Like, I'm the most B2B you could get. Like, but you can't argue that the way I kind of do my stuff on LinkedIn isn't attracting the right clients for me, because like it's nuts, the amount of clients that come to me and just saying like, oh, we've been told we're boring, or we're really fun, but we just don't know how to articulate that. It's like, where it's proven to work. This approach works, and I will be the self evangelist of this kind of humor, B2B humor facing copy, because like, it's been working for me for whatever, for at least 4 years, if not all 8 years since I've been freelancing, and since we started the agency, which is again heavily focused on more of the personality and the humour side of things.
It's two of you. Is it you and the co-founder that started the agency?
Yeah, me and Ben McKinney.
This is copy or die, right? Yep.
Copy or die. Yeah, that's our agency. So we've been going around about 18 months now. We still haven't done like an official LinkedIn like, hey, we're open, just because we're both still doing our own thing on the side. Ben's a copywriter. He also runs a commercial window cleaning business. I'm in my other kind of 50% of the time when we're not working on the agency, I do consulting and speaking and working directly with agency founders and stuff on their own copy and tone of voice and things. So we've both still got our own little thing going, and the agency was only really set up to just as a way of capitalizing on all the kind of leads that I was having to say no to through LinkedIn.
Understood. Right.
And we were like, yeah, let's set that up, and it was doing my head in, because I was saying no to some really, really cool jobs, like what I was saying before, like startup brands which like need a voice, and they're so willing to have a little bit of fun, and I'm like, I'm fully booked for 4 months here. I just can't do it. So to be able to set up this agency model, which was all kind of Ben's idea initially, he was like, what are you doing with your leads? I'll buy them off you. So it initially started as a bit of a way for me to earn a little bit of commission off the back of the leads I couldn't convert, by sending them to a guy I really trusted, because takes the same approach as me, really doesn't take himself too seriously, and he's a really great writer as well. But it was only really after about 6-9 months doing that, he was like, oh, should we set up this official? Like, he already had like a pool of freelance writers that he was getting to work on the different briefs that were coming to him. And it was just a case of let's stop making this a little bit of a sideline. Let's go a little bit more all in on it. So that's what we did. But like I said, still yet to press like go 100%. Right, come and start working with us on LinkedIn, which is, I think, as soon as I do that, just because of the profile I've got on there, I'm guessing might attract a fair few people filling out we've got a little type form at the bottom of the site. So the site's live now. You can go onto it. It just hasn't got any kind of work examples. We've done a bit of a soft launch, I suppose, over the past year. So we've been working with clients. We're working with clients right now. We've got 2 or 3 on the go. But yeah, once I kind of press that button and say, right, we're open for business, I'm hoping there'll be quite a few people filling out the form and wanting to work with us, because it'll be the first time I've ever really touted for business. It's not my style. I'm a bit lazy. It's just like, I'll give everything away for free. I'll be as daft as you want, but come to me when you're ready. Like, I've never been. I'm a writer. I'm like a salesy marketer guy.
Yeah, it's the authenticity. It's again, I worked for a big recruitment agency for 7.5 years, so I kind of learnt the salesy part of the job, and sort of get whipped to hit KPIs and different metrics, and spend 2 hours on the phone every day, call 20 clients a day, all these things. And part of the reason I started my own was to escape that. And the nice thing about being small is that you do not have to go and tout yourself out. You know that it's much more feasible for you to pick up a couple of really good clients. I don't know exactly how it works in your world, but I would imagine a similar kind of thing. You get a good foundation of clients that are helping you pay the bills and Because that's, again, that matters, doesn't it? The finances need to add up. So if you're getting the bills paid, you've got the quality of life that you want. Yeah, you don't always have to prospect. But I'd say, Dave, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass here. The profile that you've got on LinkedIn, the following you've got, I would imagine the moment you do make it LinkedIn official and start talking about the agency, you're going to get an influx in the same way that you do now with your own work too. So it sounds like a really good idea. It makes a lot of sense. The question I was going to ask when you were talking about it, though, how comfortable are you when it sounds like with your co-founder, you know him, you know that he's got the credentials, a similar kind of viewpoint on the copy. How do you kind of feel about delegating some of that writing? Because you've got I haven't seen your work that you do for brands that hasn't got that kind of humor behind it, but you've got such a style that has become synonymous with comedy and with humor and with personality. How do you feel about delegating that to other people and hoping that they're going to kind of represent you in the right way too?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one of the things which has kind of held me back from doing any outsourcing and any agency model in the past. Really, it was always, Dave, we want to work with you, and as soon as I say, I can't do it, but I know such and such you can help, and I'm talking like really good writers who I trust and I know their standard of work, they're just like, no, we want you to work on it, and I'm like, it's kind of dead in the water when it's like that. But I think now that it's not just me as a freelancer saying, oh, I can get such and such to work on it, which sounds like just a really casual way of outsourcing some stuff to another writer. It's exactly what it is. Just the fact that it's like, look, I run a copywriting agency now. I'm the creative director of that copywriting agency. Your project, I will be on those early scoping calls and those meeting calls. I will know exactly what you need. I will be doing, we'll obviously have a team of sector specialist freelance writers that will be working on the different briefs for each project. But if possible, we will get them in on a briefing call. We will get them in on the tone of voice workshops that we do. So it's not a case of me delegating stuff and making sure that, the messaging and the approach kind of filters down to the right person. It's like, we're going to have the right people on a project as early as possible. And there'll be QA at the end as well, just making sure that the quality's there and what we're putting out and what we're sending back to the clients. It's kind of there or thereabouts, what I would probably
got your mark on it, your fingerprint.
Yeah, what I would probably have written, not so much word to word, but the approach and the fact that whichever freelance writer works with us on the project, like they'll be, because they're coming in on it from the early parts of a project, and it's not just a case of, oh yeah, can you do 2 days for us? Here's a brief. See you later. We'll see you in 2 days. It's like we're hoping they're already bought into it too, and the fact that we're only using experienced freelance writers here. We're not using any juniors really, and we're not using any people from Upwork. We're using people who we've definitely got that experience, be it sector specialism. So it might be someone who's focuses on the law firms or something, on SaaS products or something, and they do that day in, day out. So if anything, like, we're gaining the expertise of someone who's much better than me or Ben, because we're just generalists at the end of the day. Okay, I focus on comedy and humor, I suppose, in my approach. But if we're bringing in, if a law firm comes to me and says, "Oh, we need you to add, humor to our stuff," I'm like, yeah, I can certainly do that. But like, how good is it if I can bring in a copywriter who writes for law firms and helps law firms have that extra personality? It's like it's just a massive win-win for us. So I'm not too fussed that clients will be asking, oh, can we work with you? Can we make sure that you're on the project? Because I think the second they know it's an agency, like, everyone understands the agency model. It's one big team, I suppose, and I suppose it lives or dies on the strength of the brief that we'll be given. And like I said, if we're getting them in at those early stages and giving good briefs out as well, like, for years, the amount of shit briefs I've had, it's just like, where do you even begin? Like, I work with quite exclusively now with two or three agencies who give me absolutely spot on briefs. They're ace. The account directors that work for them are so good at their job. They understand the creative process, and everything is just perfect when it comes to me. So we're trying to take all the good bits that me and Ben have both learned from the briefing process as well, and making sure that our writers are so clued up on exactly what's needed that it should be a breeze for them. But like I said, again, that they're experienced people. I'm sure they'll be telling us a thing or two. It's not like we're having to kind of coach them or say, "Oh, it should be in this kind of style." We're expecting them to, just pick it up because they're really good at what they do anyway, and they're the relationship we built just from. Yeah, I've been freelancing 8 years. Ben's been doing it 5. We know so many really good people, really good freelancers. Yeah. And we know people in the, like I said, the different sectors and the different who write for different media. Like I know an email specialist, I know a fintech specialist, I know we've got tone of voice people who can help us with those different projects. And it's no secret that it's a bit of a tough market at the moment, and there's a lot of people worried about client budgets are heavily reduced, and loads of these agencies are giving the chatbots a little whirl and seeing if the robots can write their marketing copy faster for them or better quality. So there's I'd say there's a fair bit of worry and uncertainty, I suppose. And I think if we can bring in clients and bring in it'll match them up to the really good writers, we can try and alleviate a little bit of that for more the good writers who've got the experience but are just finding it hard to come across the clients, because we're taking that bit away from them. They can focus on what they do.
Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly that. I think from my perspective, the reason I ask, I've gone from let's say a one-man band, so it's very easy to manage your time, manage your workload. I say easy. It's only your workload, it's only your time, it's your stress, it's your responsibility. And for years, people have asked me, so when are you going to grow? When are you going to hire? When are you going to start to build something out? And I started this business as a lifestyle business, and a lot of people that listen to this podcast also are freelance, or they're running something small or a side hustle, something like that, where maybe they're at the precipice of saying, I either go all in on this or I start to grow, start to hire someone, start to bring someone in. And I think sometimes what stopped me for so long, I'm saying this now 6 months after hiring my first employee, but what stopped me for so long was that delegation, that dilution of control. Because when you have built a personal brand, sorry if that gives you the ick, but if you've built a personal brand that's synonymous with your tone of voice, your style, allowing someone else to come into that, I think, can be really difficult. I have to say, 6 months on, I have no regrets hiring someone else. Like, I think a lot of it is about the person that I've hired is just incredible. They're not sat in the room with me. I'm not just just being overly complimentary. But yeah, just the thought process that goes through. It's just me. It's not going to be just me for a while. And yeah, where you get to the point where you pull the trigger on it. But it sounds like you're there. Like you've given, you could use that as a soundbite, what you just said, Dave, as a really comprehensive bit of insight for any customers that want to work with you too. But it sounds like you're giving it some thought and you're kind of ready for that. But yeah, I look forward to seeing it when you do pull the trigger and announce it. Has to be LinkedIn official at some point, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's imminent. We just got to we want to get the website launched with a few examples of our work on there, so that they don't just land there and go, okay, this is just the Dave Harland show. Like, where do we fill the form in? And there's no actual authentic proof of the work that we've done and the work that we're capable of. Like, even though like I said, most of the people landing there will effectively be pre-qualified, because they'll see the shit that I'll put out, on the daily, whether it's, talking about work stuff where I'll ripping a really poor email that I've received from Microsoft to shreds and show you how it could be rewritten better. Or if I'm, like you do, I suppose, pointing out the ridiculous things that go on in our industry or in the world at large, and trying to keep things a bit grounded and a bit normal before everyone takes things a bit too seriously. I think, because they'll already be kind of pre-qualified. I don't think I'll have to do that persuaded, but I still don't want to take it for granted. I want everyone to land on that site to go, oh man, like why haven't we found these years ago? This is like exactly what we need, especially in a time where copy is being devalued everywhere. It's like we will help you stand out. We like the whole premise, like we're called copy or die. It's the premise of it is words and ideas for brands that want to live forever. So it's like if you've got shit copy, you're doomed. Your business is doomed if you don't know how to engage with your audience in this day and age of social media, where where it's what do they call it, the attention economy. And if you're not capturing people's attention and persuading them that you're right for them, like they're going to go elsewhere because they've got 1,001 options. So I think we've got a good thing. It's just a case of pressing go when it's right, and when it's right, making sure that we're more than capable of handling. Like day one, bang, there's 100 briefs. Like, whoa, okay, sound. We'll probably have to hire. We probably have to hire 4 account managers, but like who knows? I set up I do a newsletter every other Friday through my word man. So that's got like it's got like 20 odd thousand subscribers now. Again, I never sell on it. I've got no products yet. I'm working on a course at the moment, but never really selling it. I did a wait list last year. I announced that we were starting the agency and said, if you've ever wanted to work with me, like I'm opening my doors for the first time ever. 300 people signed up. 300 businesses signed up. And I was just like proof of concept. I was like, wow, it blew me away. I was like, if we can just do that once we're officially launched, if we can do something similar and get that level of that level of volume of clients in, kind of run itself.
Shows the buying sentiment, doesn't it? And I guess that's what you're trying to give it, like a real, like official terminology, I guess. But it does show the buying sentiment, and you must feel you with pride too, because to even get to that number of subscribers on a newsletter, I wanted to ask about that, because my perception of newsletters a few years back were dead and buried. These email subscription lists are just shit. This is something of the past. It's not going to kind of have that resurgence. Little did I know that now all I'm being advised to do is start this newsletter. I've got a LinkedIn newsletter that I'm trying to take off LinkedIn at the moment, because LinkedIn have got such a monopoly on everything that I do. I need to claw something back and have that IP myself. But there is so much, like if you can be consistent, if you can get that, again, the messaging out there and build the brand awareness, is so powerful, isn't it? But what put you onto the newsletter idea, Dave? Again, just buying into it, thought it was a good idea, had something to say, and just wanted to build that audience?
Yeah, it was an extension of the kind of strategy shift during the pandemic, which again probably wasn't conscious at the time. It was just I'm going to just start doing more funny stuff. And then, like, I remember that year, I had me 2020 stuck in this box room in my house. I revenue wise, I had like my most fruitful like 3 or 4 months during that first lockdown. We went nuts. I wasn't just getting like I said, I always take the bit like Roderick from Innovative IT Solutions. I was getting like, oh hiya, this is Jane from Google. Can you help us? And I'm like, hang on a sec. What? Like, what's going on here?
Moments.
Like, it was nuts. So, just the fact that I'd already made that shift towards writing more consciously around humour and focusing on that type of stuff. That got to like the September. I was already subscribed to a few newsletters. Like my mate Eddie Schlainer runs very good copy, so he does a really good highly successful newsletter. So I'd seen that. I subscribed to Anne Handley. She's another amazing writer from the States. She does what's it called? Anarchy. A-double-N, Anarchy.
Nice.
Just writes amazingly. And I thought, you know what? Exactly what you were saying about LinkedIn having a monopoly over stuff. I was like, if LinkedIn went tomorrow, I'd be screwed. Like I've got most of the stuff I've done on LinkedIn saved on my desktop. So never throw anything away. It's all kept, but never that I had a platform away from it to really go, okay, like how am I going to build an audience? So I was thinking just let's have a little bit of a lost leader here. I'll pay for my MailChimp fees and just like, I still haven't got any products. I'm not selling. This is just me trying to share most of the stuff that I already do on LinkedIn with a bit of a behind the scenes. I've always seen my newsletter a bit like, they're not DVDs on thing anymore, are they? But and when you used to get the commentary, and it was like, or the bonus extras, and it would be like, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd talking about like how Ghostbusters it was originally going to be called like Ghost Stoppers, and it's like all the little tidbits that you don't really get to see when you just watch the film. I wanted my newsletter to kind of be that, and to be anything I shared on LinkedIn. So if it was a story, I'd like explain how I wrote the story and go in more into the technique for anybody that wanted to kind of nerd out on copy or humor. And it just kind of took off, and it's been the best thing the newsletter's been the best thing I've ever done, like 100% in enabling me to find my own voice and really understand what my true style is, and just understanding a bit more about marketing as well, because Eddie taught me loads about, like, I'm talking really basic email marketing stuff. I didn't even have a clue how to, like, how do you even do it? I was like, can I just do it on like my Outlook? I'd only ever had a Hotmail account before I started my business, so then it was like, can I just do it on Outlook? And it was like, oh no, you have to actually use like a mail client, like MailChimp or something. So I was like, okay, you launch it up and you read past page 2, and it's like, this is far too technical for me. So I knew one of my mates, Catherine, she was a MailChimp expert. I was like, can you set this up for me? She's like, yeah. So she sorted it, and then it was like, started it, and then Eddie was like, oh, you've got to I had a couple of calls with him, and he was like, to get more newsletter subscribers, mention it at the end of every LinkedIn post, and then within every newsletter edition, list the 3 or 4 LinkedIn posts that you've done that week. He said you just create this little flywheel effect. So people who miss your newsletter see it on the socials, and people who miss the socials see it in your newsletter. He said, and it's like self-fulfilling stuff. And for me, that was like sorcery. I was like, this is like amazing. It's just like marketing 101, email marketing, the basics. And it just shows how kind of naive I am to the whole thing, or how naive I was. So it's helped me gain a better understanding of just how marketing works, I suppose, and how campaigns work, and see that from the inside, rather than me just kind of fudging my way through it when I'm working on client stuff.
I mean, and it sounds very similar to my approach, which is I do fudge my way through most of the things. There's not much of a strategy to what I put out there. I've worked with various people to try and put that in place, and half of it's buy-in, my attention span, getting quite flighty with different ideas that I want to try and put into play as well. Because a lot of it's beta testing, a lot of it's just firing something out to see if it works, gaining that research, gaining that insight, that data, whatever you want to call it. But you've got to be brave enough to give it a go, haven't you? And just roll the dice and think, okay, what have I got to lose? You've probably got a lot more to gain than you have to lose for most things that you put out there, unless you cross the line. Unless you cross the line too far, there's obviously a level. I've got to ask about your LinkedIn following. We don't need to mention the numbers, although they're pretty. Like, it's an impressive following that you've grown on LinkedIn. And I am a big advocate for personal brand. Sorry again, Dave. For anyone that can't see Dave's face, he pulls a face every time I say personal brand. But for me, it's you've said the proof is in the pudding in terms of the numbers that you've got too. But when did you see those numbers really start to shoot up? Was that again when you started leaning into the humour, leaning into the authenticity, and just starting to put a bit more of yourself in your posts and your writing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I originally started off on Twitter when I first went freelance.
Okay.
So it was Twitter where I first got introduced to some of the real luminaries in the copywriting game. And it was where I first met Ben. He was like my co-founder now. We were just like the same stuff. We were both into football, into, Alan Partridge, daft little memes that we'd see. He'd always comment on the same stuff that I would. So we had this kind of mutual respect for the same stuff, and seemed to get on well. Despite never, I never met him until like 5 years after really encountering him on Twitter. So that's where it started with me, Twitter. And I built up I was on probably like 3,000 or 4,000 followers on Twitter, basically just all other copywriters and designers. So wasn't really anyone I could ever sell to be honest. But LinkedIn, it was, I remember it was like 20, when I first started taking it seriously, it was like 2018. Before that, it was originally just like my an extension of my CV. It was where I'd worked before. It was a little bit of an about us, and that was probably, diligent and hardworking, trained journalist, the usual shite that everyone puts on their stuff. And then, just I think I had like a bit of a. I was working. I remember working on a contract at a big bank, and the contract was for a set number of hours. And I think at the bank, like the team I was working with got to leave like 2 hours early on a Friday. So effectively I had like 2 hours of nothing to do. They would obviously set me tasks, but more often than not, there was nothing to do. So I was like, you know what, I'll use that 2 hours just to plan out my plan out my LinkedIn posts for the next month or for the next week. So and I started seeing there was certainly people on LinkedIn at the time who were just like, hi, I'm delighted to announce I got this new job, or, I'm working in marketing. If you're interested, it's like, whoa, like this is the most boring stuff I've ever seen in my life. Like I could stand out here a mile if I just play my cards right. So that's all I started doing, just doing stuff differently, which is like, being distinctive and doing the opposite of what, everyone else in your category does. Has always been a sound approach for people looking to overthrow the category leaders and stuff. Not that there's any like real category leaders in copywriting or that, not that it's as devious as it is in cutthroat B2B world or whatever. I remember at the time I can stand out here just by being a little bit funny and showing a bit of the kind of humour that I've always tried to use within my writing when I've had the opportunity. So that's what I did. Just started doing slightly funny stuff, and then one post that I did overnight kind of blew up. Really simple post about like how to use adjectives to make your stuff seem more appealing. So just using wankier words, a bit like an M&S ad.
Yeah.
And I did 3 different descriptions for the same product, and just to show how you can add, charge more for stuff that sounds a bit more appealing. And it got like 1 million views, and I had like 300 inquiries off the back of it. It turned into like all this freelance work, and I was like, oh shit, like this is where I live now. This is my new home. So how can I replicate that? So and back then I don't even think LinkedIn didn't really like, they've slyly added followers. It used to be connections, didn't it? LinkedIn, it was like, how many connections have you got? And then it was, you can follow people now. So follows was never really, I mean, it still isn't. Like, it's nice to have them big numbers. All it is more people see your stuff. That's all it is, really.
Yeah.
And when you get announced, as a speaker, well, it might open more doors that way, seeing you as an authority. But like in terms of the numbers, you see people having follower parties, like my 100,000 follower, and they have big gold balloons and all of that. And it's just like, it's the opposite of how I ever want to come at things. Like if my mates seen me doing a follower party, I'd be shunned forever. My family would as well. My family would rinse me. It's just like, get over yourself. Like, this isn't you. Where's our David from Birkenhead? Where's the lad that we all knew and loved? Like, what's happened to you, you weirdo? So yeah. That's good to me as well. It keeps me grounded before I get too much of a big head.
You can't get bogged down with follower numbers, but there are some positives that come from it, which is a lot of it is visibility, or how, from what I've learned about LinkedIn now, it's really visibility. A lot of that is controlled by LinkedIn. So sometimes those numbers don't mean your posts are going to get seen by that many people. But I think the example you gave, which is that post that got 1 million views, then also got you 300 odd inquiries, that's the best example you could give, because the vanity metrics can go through the roof. Everyone can get posts that get loads of views, get loads of likes, get loads of comments. It's turning it into money, isn't it? What's the return on investment? So the fact that you've got 300 inquiries on the back of it, and I guess in a way, that's part of what you do, is trying to emulate that for the clients that you're working with too. Like I was watching one of your podcast clips, and the analogy you were giving about when you've had a bad curry or a bad pint and reading some copy. It's essentially reading a copy makes you should be doing, making you run to the toilet at the speed that you would do if you were needing to go for a shit.
It was a ridiculous analogy, but purposefully made, and every word crafted to avoid the shite filters on LinkedIn, the algorithm for using anything. So I was using like toilets, disasters, and all sorts of words that kind of surfed beneath the profanity radar. But it is like, I know it's, again, it's a ridiculous thing to say. Like, when you're writing copy, people should be so desperate to get to that next line. Like, if they're not, you run the chance of losing them. Like, they should be so desperate, like subliminally desperate to know what the hell's contained within that next paragraph, because the paragraph you've just written is so full of intrigue and curiosity and like promised benefits. Like, it should be as like the point I made, like when you're desperate to go to the toilet and like you can think of nothing else but unleashing hell into that toilet bowl. Like, your mind, or the kind of feeling you should have in people's minds is they should think of nothing else but clicking see more to get to that next bit. Like Drayton Baird, one of my copy heroes, he's like, you should think about like your copy almost like if you've got a gun to your head, and like, how are you going to persuade this person to read the next line? He said, lazy people don't. Lazy people just write anything. He said, I come at things thinking, if I've got a gun to my head now and somebody said, if you don't get that person to that next line, I'm going to pull this trigger. He said, that's what it's like when you're in the cutthroat world of sales and your business lives or dies on making that sale. You've got to get people there. So yeah, I think it helps putting things into bit weird and wacky perspectives like that, and that's all I was kind of trying to do with the toilet post. Plus, I got to write a toilet about being desperate for a shit on LinkedIn, which is very, very rare.
Any excuse. I love it, and I think hearing you talk about it again, you can just sense this energy and enthusiasm you've got, and you are so right. Like, I'd like to think that I can write copy. It is not, if I judged all of that copy in the same way, if I had a gun to my head, I wouldn't post anything. So like a lot of it, but I'd like to think I can write. But seeing you put some long form content out there, Dave, and yours are one of a very small handful of people that I will always read to the end. And there is a talent and there's an art and there's a really beautiful thing about that. And I think you said earlier, copy is being devalued, and we're going to go into this now. Copy is being devalued, and I'm noticing it, and I'm trying to rage against it. And I'm sure from what you're putting out there at the moment, you're in a similar sort of train of thought to me. But we're going to talk about AI and this advent of AI. When did you start to see AI permeating the kind of landscape that you operate in, Dave?
I think it was about 6 months before ChatGPT came out. So that was like, well, we're coming up to 2 years since it's launched now, aren't we? So it was probably around the summer of 2022 when I think it was another copywriter mate of mine, Dan Nelkin, or maybe Shlomo Genshin, one or the other, had mentioned this OpenAI and the fact that there's this like highly advanced chatbot. I mean, they've been using AI for years. Like, businesses have been using AI just as like automated chatbots, but they haven't been to the extent that these large language models have been. They've been kind of based on a spreadsheet full of like designated answers. So if somebody says, what's my account details, it just the spreadsheet just pulls the query up from something. Like, nothing had ever created anything from scratch before. And I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. Just looking at it, pure intrigue. Like, no, at no point has there ever been like, oh, this is an existential threat to like everything I hold dear. Like, I'm going to lose my job and like have to retrain as a farmer or something. It's like, I was coming at that as, okay, let's see what it's like. So my first thing with OpenAI, and I did a talk on it this summer, actually, just gone, about my experiences, and how I kind of got into kind of having a little play with these things. One of the most basic things I said, like, one of the prompts I put in was, I'm starting a new brand for hoodies. It's a purpose-led brand. Give me some taglines. So it like spat like 5 options, all like terrible. It was like, hoodies with a cause. It's like, no, come on, need them to be more creative. And I got to the point where I was having to say, like, give me one that rhymes. And it was like, I can't think of the exact one, but it would be like, the perfect rhyme for hoodies is goodies, isn't it? Hoodies for goodies or something like that. But it was coming up with like, hoodies for a better world. And I felt bad. I was like going, like, where's the rhyme there? And it's like, well, it could rhyme if you did. And I was like, there's no rhyme. And I asked it the question, do you understand what a rhyme is? And I'll never forget its answer. It just replied, and it typed it out really slowly. Yes, I understand what a rhyme is. It was almost like I just patronised it. It's like, fuck, I've just patronised a robot here. So that was that was the first time I'd really kind of seen its limitations. I mean, still, even though you can criticize the output, like the fact that it exists and the way it works is just mind-boggling. It's mind-blowing. Like, how have we ever reached this point in technology? I will never, ever, ever know how it can create, a poem about lampshades in the style of Shakespeare in 2 seconds. Is like, wow, that's computing for you. That's computing, computing from the year 2100. It's insane, really. But yeah, back to kind of present day. Like everything I've seen so far in what I do. So I'm obviously focused on, as we've established, focused more on humour and finding the personality, which again is a subjective thing. Like what you find funny, I might not find funny. What my clients might find funny is probably going to be something different again. But for what I do, which is finding that kind of deep-rooted humanity, like full of humour and lived experience, it just hasn't got it. And I think because it's based on stuff that has happened in the past, I just don't think it will ever get there where it's as authentic as we'd need it to be to confidently go, let's just push a button and let it be done with our kind of written output. Not that I'm saying businesses and brands are using it like that. I think certainly a lot of copywriters I know are using it more for ideation. Like if I've hit a brick wall, or if I'm staring at a blank page, and I've got to write a blog post about teapots. Like give me 20 ideas or facts about teapots. Like it's basically a better syndicated Google. We were doing that anyway on Google. You'd probably start with Google, wouldn't you? Tell me all teapot facts, like with your speech marks around it to find the best page on Google. ChatGPT is just getting you there a bit quicker, but with the generative stuff where it's creating the copy that you would have previously had to write from scratch. I think there's a lot of danger in doing that, in outsourcing your thinking, and certainly as writers, like our ideas are that the kind of they're at the heart of everything we do and everything we sell. Basically, like if without our ideas, we're screwed. If these people are doing, or just typing in prompts and letting these large language models come up with the first draft of whatever they're writing. I know I make this point tongue in cheek. What happens if the Wi-Fi goes down? Like, how are you going to do that? Like, what happens if you're in a meeting with a client and you've been outsourcing your thinking for so long, and the client goes, "Oh, what's another angle we can come in at for this?" And you go, "Let me just prompt the machine and see." Like, you'd be laughed out the building. Like, and I think that's where the danger lies. Again, I did that talk about kind of my experience with AI and how it's pointless really when it comes to writing with humour and personality. But I think we're also in danger of if we are outsourcing our thinking and our kind of earliest say when you're working on a new brief and you've got to sell something, like sell this microphone. If I'm immediately going to a chatbot saying, give me 8 things that I can talk about this microphone, or interesting angles, you're giving away the actual truth about the thing that you're selling. Like if you're not speaking to the client first, if you're not asking them to send you the microphone, if you're not looking at what other people are saying, people in the real world on reviews, if you're not doing that type of research, which I know AI could probably pull all of that information together, but if you're getting the robots to do the creative stuff, you're losing that truth that makes stuff that's so engaging and so worth reading. And I think that's a slippery slope as soon as you start doing that, because it's like anything. It's like when you stop going to the gym, isn't it? Like, I can't talk massively overweight human here. I know that in the past when I've gone to the gym and it's been like, you're on your game. I was doing CrossFit for years and I was pumped. I could do pull-ups. I could do it all. Stop it for like 2 weeks and it's like, oh, this is so hard to get back into. Like, I see the link with outsourcing your idea generation and your creativity. If you stop doing that, like, how hard is it to get back into it when you really need to?
It's a really good point.
There's a whole other. I could talk on it for ages. There's a whole other flip side around it about it being like enjoyable. Like, I love writing. There's like all of these, these new AI tools. It's all about like, focus on the things. Let these AI chatbots do all the donkey work, so you can focus on the stuff that you enjoy doing. It's like, I enjoy that. I enjoy coming up with the ideas, you weirdos. Like, don't take that away from me. That's the best part. I enjoy seeing people's reactions when they read my stuff. Like, I wrote another story. It sounds like all my stories are shit-based. I promised they're not. There was a story about when I shat myself on a school trip when I was a kid. So I wrote this story about it, and obviously it was on LinkedIn, so it had a business lesson attached to it.
Of course.
I forgot where I was going. The shit sent me head west. Remind me where I gone.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about this, where this story is going to go. You were talking about. I do know where we are. My train of thought hasn't completely gone. You were talking about enjoying the process. So the whole thing about go for it. Come on.
Got it. So I'd written this story, and it just so happened my mum was on that school trip, so she salvaged the situation. She saw me waddling towards her, and we silently communicated, what had happened. And she looked at me in that way that mums do when they know that their kids just shat themselves. And it was a beautiful, unspoken moment, even though it was horrible, and she had to wad the gutter to my kecks with, some 2-ply toilet paper in there. It was in Jorvik Viking Centre, in the Viking Centre toilets. It was nuts. But anyway, I recently retold this story, tongue-in-cheek, for LinkedIn with a bit of a business lesson, just, as I try and do, with many tenuous stories. And I remember reading it out to my mum, and she was sitting there crying with laughter. And, like, when I reflected on that, like when I had to do this AI talk, I thought, if I would have used a chatbot for any part of that story, like, would I have been as fulfilled and satisfied seeing the tears running down my mum's face? Because that came from me, my memory. I wrote every single word, and I chose every single word carefully. I was using words like cascaded, like it was just a horrible word for like this, rancid volcano of filth. I'd chosen like a word out of 100 words I could have chosen. If I'd have got a robot to help me with that, I really do think that I wouldn't have had the same level of like, I did that. Like, that was all me. That, like, I've made that happen. And like, again, I think if you do really enjoy what you do in terms of the writing side of things, and it's not just a job, like another job, which I think if you work in marketing and it's like, oh, you got to do copy, you got to do this, you got to plan campaigns, it's going to make your life easier, isn't it? If you're not really kind of precious over the one thing that you do. But yeah, for me, thinking about it from that perspective, like, I enjoy it, and if I get someone else to do it, if I get one of these robots to do it, it's going to take that enjoyment away from me, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to be like, I made an analogy again in that talk. I don't want to be like one of those chefs in the restaurant when Gordon Ramsay goes in, and he's been there for 20 years, and he's been microwaving the spaghetti, and there's, bits of salmon floating around in the fridge, and all of the lovely chefing that he loved 20 years ago. It's just because he's overworked, he's lost the love for it. He's lost the passion. Sorry, he's lost the love for the job, and he's kind of all dejected. All the love's drained from his eyes. And Gordon comes in, he goes, "What the fuck's this? Microwaving a spaghetti? Like, what are you doing? Where's the passion? What's happened to you?" Like, I know that I certainly do not want to be like one of those chefs. No copywriter that's going to be working with us at our agency is going to be anywhere near those chefs. They're going to love what they do. They're going to be proud of what they do. Like, we all want to be Gordon Ramsay. We want to be steering the ship. We want to be coming up with the innovative stuff. We do not want to be going, outsource my brain. You tell me, and I'll just what does that make us? That doesn't make us anything, does it? Certainly doesn't make us writers coming up with cool ideas.
No.
It makes us just editors, five steps down the process. Oh, it's nowhere I want to be. Not from creative copy. Obviously, I'm ranting a little bit more about creative copy here and outsourcing your ideas. I know the future is probably going to be, 90% streamlined processes by these amazing, incredible robots. That's just in case anyone's at danger of calling me a massive Luddite, and I need to stop being a dinosaur.
Or just in case the robots are listening, we want to be on their good side by the time Skynet goes live.
Oh man, people say, because I just whenever I do any I never use the chatbots aside from when I'm testing something. So when I at the end of my newsletter, say I do a before and after on an email that I've rewritten, at the end I'll say, let's see if one of the chatbots could do it better. So I give the chatbot a prompt and say, give me 5 alternatives for this strapline. And it's invariably the worst thing in the world. Here are 5 options, and it's all elevation creativity unlocked. It's what? See you later. Nuts. So I make that point about how the chatbots are just terrible in what they do. That's the way I kind of try and keep my sanity.
Dave, I thought we were going to get some an impassioned overview of your thoughts on AI, and it's not at odds with what I thought you were going to say, to be honest with you. I think outsourcing of ideas is something I talked about when ChatGPT was becoming a big thing, specifically in the recruitment space, because what immediately ChatGPT went live, and then all of a sudden there was a load of recruitment technology that was being formed on the back of using these large language models that were going to make people's life easier. Again, like you say, leave you doing the part of the job that you really love. Now, if you work in recruitment, you've really got to try and break down what is the part that you love anyway. But I just thought what it's actually doing is it's outsourcing the ideas. It's going to dull us down. It's going to dumb us down when it comes to connection like this. You don't get, you're in the room in real time having a conversation with someone. That's thinking on your feet. That is ideas coming to the fore and then articulating that. What we're doing by using ChatGPT is working on these long form prompts kill me as well. If you can't do it on a short form prompt, why are you going to write something that is essentially what you could create yourself if you just concentrated enough? People are advocates. Long form prompts are the best thing to do. You're not going to write 2 A4 side pages of a prompt to create something that's 2 paragraphs long. That's madness to me. That's not productivity. That's the complete opposite. So I'm anti it. Even the ideation stuff, I've got to be honest, Dave, I struggle with that. I struggle because I think it's one small step from ideation to then go, I like that. Can you write it for me? And then all of a sudden it's built something again, and then you're editing that. And so
I bastards, aren't we? Us humans.
If there's a shortcut, we'll do it.
Yeah. Anything we could do to avoid having to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, but it's a really good point, and I think like I said, it's not unexpected your response to that. But the outsourcing of ideas. But then going back to the point, if you love what you're doing, if you really enjoy the process, then why would you want to outsource that in the first place? Some people will be listening to this going, I'm happy to because I hate writing and I don't want to do it. I've got a couple of more questions for you, Dave, and then we're done. So Let me see. There is, I'm going to ask you quite a broad question. I probably should have prepared you for this one, but don't feel put on the spot at all. The question is, what advice would you give for someone that's looking to change their relationship with work? So what we haven't touched upon is what you were doing before you went freelance, I guess. The time, because I go back on people's LinkedIn profiles and I'll look at what's there and I'll try and do a bit of digging beforehand. I mean, yours is a wasteland before 2015, I think, from what I could see. And then it starts to build up with Wordman and then Copy or Die from there. But I would assume what you were doing prior to that was working for other people, still doing copywriting or working in-house for people. Is that right?
Yeah, I was head of copy at a Christmas hamper company for 10 years, just underneath 10 years, yeah. So wow. I think it was on my profile, and then I think I just disabled it because it was how I'd written it back when I just started freelancing. and it was like my old tone of voice. So I just hadn't updated it, and I remember reading it like probably about a year ago, thinking, well, that's not me anymore. Bye.
Yeah.
So I just paused it, and I thought I'll write a more fun version, and I've just never got round to doing it. So at the moment, yeah, it's just Wordman and Copy or Die. But yeah, I was head of copy there. That's how I got into the copywriting, to be honest, because I originally went there I was about 4 years after graduating. I'd done a few other little kind of semi-journalism, semi-PR jobs, and then I got a job at that company writing there as editor of their customer magazine. As a Christmas hamper company, the way it works, a bit like the Avon catalogue, they have agents who kind of save up the Christmas savings from their friends and family, and then the agent, they're called an agent. So like, say it was like your mum, she would collect, a tenner a week from Auntie Sandra, from Uncle Bob, whatever, from her mates down the bingo, and then like at the end of the month, she'd send maybe like £1,000 over to the hamper company, and she would earn 50 quid commission, and that would go and kind of pay for her. So there was an incentive for them to do that, but to kind of encourage the agents to kind of keep up the hard work, we had like it was almost like a woman's weekly magazine. Like, it was nuts. I'm like this 20-stone rugby player writing like articles about like French manicures, and like having to interview a woman who's just gone like on a makeover and asking her all of these like mad. But I still thought I was a journalist at that point, because I was like using my researching and interview techniques and stuff, but I wasn't. So everything was a kind of a puff piece for the company, and it was all positive kind of PR, which was fine. But it was only really like probably 3 years into that job, my boss was like, "Oh, do you want to start doing more copywriting for us? Not just the magazine, doing DMs and sales letters, and even like helping out writing some product descriptions." I was like, "Oh, what's a copywriter?" Like, literally, that's how it was. Like, Googled it and had to find out. So kind of learned on the job there. And then after 6 or 7 years doing that, I'd worked my way up. I had a little team there, and then just had an opportunity to do a little bit of freelance on the side. I thought, well, this is more fun than writing about the same stuff every single day. So yeah, that's kind of where I made the leap into what I do now, which is working for myself and kind of running the agency. So yeah, 10 years I was there. 10 years. So what was the question? How can we link that back?
The question was, what advice would you give to someone that's looking to change their relationship with work? So let me phrase it in this way. If you was like, say you're 9 years into that job and you go back to have a conversation with yourself then, and maybe at that point you're not ready to make the leap, maybe at that point you're it's in your mind that the freelance route is something that you'd want to go down. But what advice would you have given yourself back then if you were going to make that move earlier?
That's a good question. I never really thought about that.
That's why I should have given you the heads up, Dave, to be honest.
I've got an answer for it. Like, not that I've ever really taken myself too seriously, but I suppose at that time, I only ever thought that you were either employed or you were like a boss and you had a team. I never knew the freelance life existed. Just you don't get told. Like, back I went to uni in like 2000. Like, back then, you never got told, "Oh, you can freelance and just start your own business." And it was like, no, you get a job. You've got to pay a mortgage. You pay your car payments. You pay your gas bill. Everything's got to be nice and sensible and regular. And that's the way grown-ups do it. And it was like, I found out quite at a late stage. Again, probably just naive. I got a bit comfortable in the job I was in. Like didn't really challenge me. I was doing it like standing on my head, no sweat. When I got offered that bit of freelancing work, I was like, "Oh wow, this is possible." Like, and again, yeah, I don't think I took myself too seriously in that job. I tried to infuse as much fun and laughter. Certainly in like the office where we worked, it was hilarious. I've got mates there now who I keep in touch with. We still go for a pint every now and again. That's a little bit overdue, actually. I'll have to send them a WhatsApp later. But just thinking about like my mindset back then, it was still very much like serious career, like, and I was a bit in my own head. I had a little bit of a lack of confidence and thought, just didn't think there was another way of doing things. And I'd always like I remember, like, I hated being on the spot. Like it was a cushy little. Like, I didn't have to go to any like big board meetings or anything like that. It was just here's a brief, do that, work with your team. It was like nice and easy. No, I didn't have to do any public speaking. Didn't have to put myself out of my comfort zone like at all. So I suppose the one thing I would say, if I was kind of linking it back to, what would I say to someone looking to change their approach to work? It'd be like, just be a little bit careful that you're not getting too comfortable. Like if the moment you push yourself out of a comfort zone, and it can be just a little half a pace out of this comfort zone. Like for me, setting up my own freelance business and having to go and meet a client like for the first time in a Starbucks in the shopping centre by where I work, it was like I was sweating my tits off when I got there. I was just like, like worried, panicking. What do I say? Will I look like a dickhead if I'm not using the right terminology? And it was like sound. So that was like my little step outside of that. And then started taking more clients on it. It was another step. And then like just little steps out of your comfort zone. Like you don't realise how much opportunity they will open for you. And like even up until 2 years ago, I used to hate public speaking. Used to hate it. Still not a massive fan. But I was like getting offered to speak at conferences and stuff. And I was like, I'm a writer. I don't speak. But I was saying no, like probably twice a month to like really good engagements. And, will you come and speak at such and such in, Rome? And I was like, I'm having a car crash that week. I can't make it, or something. Just making up purely because I've had this morbid fear of being on stage, going completely freezing, like looking like a beetroot, sweating, and thinking like, oh, he's blagging it. He's been blagging it all of these years. And like, stupidly, I just put it off. So then I pushed myself out my comfort zone a little bit. Watched a talk from one of he's a mate of mine now, Max Hoppy. Watched the talk about how to get over yourself and learn this kind of public speaking, learn the reps of public speaking. And like, just, it's nuts. Like I said, I was on a call to him earlier today. I said, like 2 years ago, it made me physically I remember getting all hot and clammy, typing out a LinkedIn message to him to say, can you help me with my public speaking? Last month, I spoke at a conference in Ibiza, and I had to go on stage after like, he's like Rory Sutherland. He's like the one of the world's greatest public speakers. I had to follow him on stage. I was sweating typing out a LinkedIn message about 2 years ago. So it's just to see that, like, if I know this is sounding almost like this is your life tale now, isn't it? But I promise there's an ending. If you can just think about, like, just getting over yourself and what might look like a little bit of I don't want to even go there. If you can just push yourself out that tiny little comfort zone and just take these little baby steps, you never know where it might lead. Because now, I get asked all the time, and I'm like, yes, I'll come there. Like I was meant to be going to Philadelphia in December, but like the visa looks like it looked like it was going to be a nightmare to get a visa. But they're like, oh, we're having it again next year. You're going to come next year, and I was like, 100%, I'm going. Like I'm there. Like, if you'd have asked me that 2 years ago, I'd have just said, fuck off. Like, no way am I going speaking. Like, I was worrying speaking in front of, like, my clients over the Zoom call. Yeah. So to, like, stand on a stage of other 200 people, insane. Madness.
Oh, it's amazing, mate. It's amazing. Yeah, I think the lesson there is so much about getting out of your own way, isn't it? Just
overthinking.
Exactly that. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dave. I've got
no worries.
2 parts left to this. So the next part is going to be, I've introduced a game for this season. So it's going to be a quick game of this or that. I'm going to give you, it's supposed to be 10 questions, Dave. I've got 8 questions for you. Let's call it a timing thing, but it's 8 questions and not 10. So eight questions, 2 options. You've got to give me one of those 2 as quickly as possible. So we'll start with this.
Rationales, or is it just quick fire? Just
quick fire. Literally no context.
Right,
no context.
Okay, got it.
Right. So this or that. Question number 1: Liverpool or Everton?
Liverpool.
Question number 2: LinkedIn or Twitter?
LinkedIn.
Question number 3: freelance or agency?
You can't do that to me.
Sorry, mate. I am.
it's because freelancing is just all me, and I can basically do what I want, and I've got a bit more of a responsibility with the agency. It'll still be kind of freelance at heart, but future is it's got to be agency. It's the only way forward.
Fine. Okay. Number 4, short form copy or long form storytelling.
Short form is where I feel more comfortable. And longer form is more when I can dictate the flow. Like if somebody says write this long form about a quilt cover, that's like, no way, Jose. But if it's write this long form about a time you crashed your car into a road sweeper and the poor fella got dragged out covered in leaves, yeah, I can write 1,000 words on that.
Okay, so it just depends. It depends on the brief.
I said no context, didn't I? I'm giving you context.
I'll let you off. It's fine. Humour or hard sell? I don't know what question number we're on now. Let's say 5. Humour or hard sell?
Humour,
obviously.
Can't do hard sell. Yeah.
Question number 6: confuse the scammer or call out the influencer?
Interesting. I love them scammer stories, man.
I love them, man.
I love them.
They make my day.
Just love them.
So good.
when I get them to the point where you can just see they're so flummoxed by what's going on, and it's just, there's no, and it's like it has a kind of perfect ending to the story. Nothing comes close. So calling out the influencers is easy. I could do that in my sleep, because they're like, the self-satirizing. It's that like the piss has already been taken out of them by what the type of stuff that they post. And let's face it, it's not even them posting. Like, I'm not having a go at these people. I'm having a go at the act of outsourcing your social media to an agency, which is making you look like a tool, because that's what they're coming across as.
So the answer is confuse the scammer.
Confuse the scammer.
That's fine. Look, don't be silly.
So much context.
For anyone listening to this as well that hasn't yet seen Dave's confuse the scammer post, like, where have you been living? These are some of the best things that you can see. Like, out of all the drudgery that you'll go through on LinkedIn, you need to be seeing this stuff. Question number 7: life dinner or just normal dinner?
Every day of the week. Life dinner. I'm up to comment 39 of life dinner now. It's just it never gets old. I'm so childish, aren't I? I'm like 40. I'm 43 next birthday, and I'm still just taking. Taking the piss out of some one fella's innocent post like about 2 years ago. I've just clung to it like it's deranged.
So good. Yeah, it's so good. Final question. Question number 8: Uncle Tony or Dave Harland?
Again, I can't say myself, can I? So it's Uncle Tony. It's honestly, it's the half of these that you thought about here. It's like it's coming up with characters and silly stories. Yeah. It's like it's the root of everything I try and do. So yeah, Uncle Tony.
Honestly, Dave, you have brought so much joy to my life through the shit, the seemingly random shit that you post. But there's always a lesson out of it, and there's always either at least a smile at the very end of it. Anyway, but thank you for that, because it's brilliant. The closing tradition on the podcast, I don't know if you listened or fast forwarded to the end of one. So is actually, you brought your mum up earlier. It's a question from my mum. So every episode, my mum leaves a voice memo that I'll play down the microphone, or if someone's sat in the office, I'll play to them. And it's a question that you need to answer from my mum. So I always apologise in advance, because I don't know what she's going to say. Let me know if you can hear it.
I'm loving this. I'm a big proponent of bringing mums and family members in general into your business world. I get my mum to respond to my emails sometimes. She spends an entire day responding to comments.
Oh, it's so good.
I do, but as her, in all capital letters. Yeah, all capital letters. But she responds to some of them. It's funny.
I love it. Right, I'm going to play this down the phone.
Hi, David. As a fellow creative, do you think we should embrace AI and see it as something that will actually help us push our own limits? Thank you.
The fact she's called you David when I expressly sent Dave.
One thing, because I'm David. My dad's got exactly the same name, David William Harland, and right. He's Dave and I'm David. So to everyone in my family, and then professionally, I've gone for the Dave. Wow, what a deep question. We've kind of already covered it.
We have.
So I think she said as a creative, I think I think no. I think as people in the people who are paid to come up with ideas, if you're incapable of coming up with ideas without falling back on something which is going to kind of get you the majority of the way there, I think what's the point? Right? What are you even doing it for? Right, you can't really call yourself a creative if you're doing that. I don't think personally. But who's to say in a few years, everything that we do is just going to be 3 prompts away, and the way it's like that scene in Back to the Future. You have to use your hands. That's like a baby's toy where he's playing the old arcade game. It's like in 20 years' time, when I'm retired, will it be mental that we used to have to use our brain to come up with creative ideas? Because hang on a sec, you just type in, this 7,000 word prompt and it generates everything for you, like a computer program. Is that how it's going to be in future? Maybe.
It's not the future I'm looking forward to, I have to be honest. Yeah, I think we're on the same page with that. For context, I don't know if I mentioned this already, my mum and my brother, who are both featured on the podcast, are artists. So that's where mum's saying is a fellow creative. She's a ceramicist, so works with clay, and my brother does a number of things, but drawing is his main medium. And we talk a lot about AI and the kind of, the creep of these AI generated images and art. And for me, the biggest thing that we can all lean on now is authenticity, because I think as well AI is damaging trust. It makes anything I read now, I start thinking, and I worry about the stuff that I put out there, that people are going to judge that as, oh, John's written that with AI, because there's no real way to tell a lot of the time. There's an issue with trust, I think, a lot of it. I think the main way creatives are going to be able to stand out is through showing the process, showing the human being behind what they're doing, which my brother does a great job of, and my mum is really leaning into now as well, which is lovely to see. Like at the age of 63, putting herself out there and getting in front of a camera and really embracing that has been really lovely to see. So, Dave, you're a legend. It's honestly felt like I've been speaking to a celebrity. Like I've been following you for a long time. You are a LinkedIn legend, and it's just been really nice to get to know you a little better. So thank you for committing some time to that. It was really good.
Yes, John, my pleasure, mate. Yeah, it's been nice it's been nice to chat and delve in and have a little bit of a rant about some of the stuff that just pure does my head in. It's nuts.
I love it. Okay, mate. All right, I will speak to you soon. Cheers, Dave. Thank you.
Cheers, John.
Thanks for listening to Jobsworth. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to give us a follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, if you could take 2 seconds to rate the show, that would be awesome. You can follow Jobsworth on Instagram, where you'll get teasers for upcoming episodes, some behind-the-scenes videos, and the occasional bit of career inspiration. And if you'd like to learn more about my day job, then feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.